following backlash toward the New York Times for its decision to publish an op-ed by Senator Tom Cotton, where he urged the military to crack skulls of protesters who are out there, just asking the police to stop murdering them. The New York Times is now kind of backpedaling on its decision to publish that op-ed. So James Bennet, and this is published in the New York Times, by the way, James Bennet, the editor in charge of the opinion section, said in a meeting with staff members late in the day that he had not read the essay before it was published. Shortly afterward, the Times issued a statement saying the essay fell short of the newspaper's standards, maybe because Tom Cotton lied and continued to perpetuate this nonsense about how the protests have been infiltrated by Antifa. The FBI has indicated that that is not the case. In fact, there have been some right-wingers who have engaged in violence, and they're being investigated. But Tom Cotton didn't mention that in his little op-ed, did he? Also, Eileen Murphy, who is a Times spokesperson, said the following: "This review made clear that a rushed editorial process led to the publication of an op-ed that did not meet our standards. As a result, we're planning to examine both short-term and long-term changes to include expanding our fact-checking operation and reducing the number of op-eds we publish." Right, because that's what people were asking for. Like, publish less op-eds and we'll be happy with that. I don't think that's what people were asking for. I think people wanted you guys to maybe stop publishing, fascistic nonsense that basically calls on the U.S. military to crack the skulls of peaceful protesters. I mean, it's just, these people are amazing. They're amazing. How do you have that high-level position at the New York Times as the editor of the editorial section, and you don't have a minute to sit down and read that nonsense before you decide to publish it? No, but it's not the bug, it's the feature, Cenk. It's not the bug, it's the feature. They want mindless drones that toe a very specific line, and that's what these people do.
Yeah, and so we discussed this yesterday, and we did a poll on it, and you're about to rub that in a second. And so I took the position that I'm not that concerned about them running the Tom Cotton op-ed because he's a Republican senator, and that's and the president of the United States agrees with that position. That's a real position in America. I hate that it's a real position in America, and I fight it to the very end and with everything I've got. But those guys represent a very large faction of Americans. And so now here, I'll give you the poll. If people voted with Anna, not me, the result, should the New York Times have run the Cotton op-ed? About 75% of you said no, and about 25% said yes. So now the New York Times is basically saying we shouldn't have run it. So they agree with 3/4 of you and Anna. I want to be clear, though, as you saw in the video yesterday, I said there was a clear factual error when Tom Cotton blamed Antifa for protests. And not only is there no evidence of that, but Ken Klippenstein at The Nation now, he used to be with the Young Turks, broke the story that the FBI looked into it and found no connection to Antifa. So they should, at a bare minimum, have not run that portion of it. They are supposed to fact check their op-eds. They're not just supposed to print them sight unseen. But to me, that admission that he didn't even read it is amazing. It's amazingly stupid that he admitted it in public, but it does go to show you what they do as a regular course of action. If you're a progressive, they're also not going to read it. They will not publish your op-ed. They just won't. Their idea of a progressive is somebody like Paul Krugman, who loves Hillary Clinton and bashed Bernie Sanders to no end. They're like, what do you mean? We have progressives like Paul Krugman, who spends 90% of his editorials attacking Bernie Sanders during the primaries. But
he called you vile. He called you vile because you criticized Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
Paul Krugman called Cenk vile. It's amazing.
That's their idea of a journalist, is someone who would attack anyone who criticizes the powerful. So I was criticizing Nancy Pelosi. Every fact I had was exactly right. It was on the issue of Medicare for all. And Paul Krugman just couldn't believe that anybody would criticize the beloved leader of the Democratic Party in the House, and he attacked me as a vile person. Anyway, but Anna, the funny thing is, I've totally forgotten that, because they're all the same. What difference does it make? If it wasn't Krugman, it'd be somebody else, right? But the point is, sight unseen, they will not run progressive op-eds. And now they say, oh, we're going to run even less, so that'll be their excuse for no, opinion allowed from the opposition. Now, the controlled opposition all day long. Nancy Pelosi will give Donald Trump, and Chuck Schumer will give Donald Trump everything he wants. They'll give him the entire defense military ass. They'll kiss his ass, but then they'll do show. They'll do theatrics of ripping up paper and pointing fingers, etc. And the New York Times will celebrate it. But to say that, yeah, I ran an article calling for an unconstitutional use of the military within America against our own civilians, but I didn't even read it. What do I care? Oh, it's fascists are close to being in charge. In fact, they're already here. They're in the Senate. They're in the White House. Well, I didn't even bother reading the fascist op-ed. I just ran it. Well, if you give me that piece of information, then I say no, that he shouldn't have run it. He should at least read the fascist before he runs it. And by the way, the New York Times would be, if they were here in this room, they'd obviously, of course, be deeply, deeply offended. And they would think that we are a bigger problem than Tom Cotton. No, like, I just want to be clear about that. And even like the ones who rebelled inside the New York Times, I bet you if you showed them this, they would also agree. I mean, like, look, we didn't want him to run the Tom Cotton thing. We want Tom Cotton canceled. But these guys questioning what we do at the New York Times as if we're doing propaganda for the powerful, and where we just print whatever they say without even reading it. And these guys are pointing it out. No, you guys are worse than Cotton. No, you guys, none of you are allowed. But, oh, you're a fascist? Yeah, just run it without asking.
Yeah, the degree to which I have any interest in appealing to those people, it's non-existent. Like, it doesn't exist. I don't care. I don't care if they find us to be a problem. In fact, they should see us as a problem, because we challenge them more than anyone else, and they hate it. They hate it because they are incredibly incompetent at what they are supposed to do as journalists. All they do is positive PR for elitists, both on the left and the right. That's what they do. That is the antithesis of what journalism is supposed to be. So if you're a journalism student right now watching this and you aspire to be a journalist, I know for a fact that the school you're going to is telling you that, if you want to do print, the New York Times, that's what you can aspire to be. Look, if you actually care about real journalism, that is the last place you want to end up, okay? Because all that publication does, and it's been doing it for decades, is help the powerful maintain power, and that's it. That's all they do.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.